ซาท์ฟอร์ดซิตี้นะครับดีที่สุดก็คือซีซั่นนี้แหละครับเข้ามาถึงรอบที่4 FA ครับฤดูกาลที่แล้วเข้ามาถึงรอบที่3นี่ก็คือสูงสุดแล้วนะครับแต่ซีซั่นนี้มาถึงรอบที่4เลย
เป็นคนนี้เลยครับลุกกาบัตครับยิงฟรีคิกเป็นประตูชัยให้ทีมมาชาสวินดอนในรอบที่แล้วนะครับแล้วก็ผ่านเข้ารอบมาเจอกับแมนเชสเตอร์ซิตี้ครับ
แมนเชสเตอร์ซิตี้แชมป์7 สมัยนะครับล่าสุดก็คือปี 2023 ครับซิตี้ต่อเมื่อปี 1940 นะครับใช้ชื่อว่า Salford Central ก่อนจะมาเปลี่ยนเป็น Salford City ปี 19 มีเรื่องทำงานครับ
Fillimet përgjithsisht kanë qenë të mira këto kohët e fundit për Sky Blues. Ndërsa në pjesën e dyta duket sikur kanë luajtur me frena dore me Cotton Cheers, fituan 3-0, por gjithçka u sistemua që në pjesën e parë. 3 gole që në pjesën e parë, ndërsa Cotton Cheers minimalisht e meritojnë një gol sepse krijuan shumë dhe shpëtoi Donnarumma, sidomos Mark Gehi në një ndeshje vërtet të madhe. Por edhe ndeshja tjetër gjithsesi e luajtur pikërisht në shtëpi pra. Zgjidh kam përshtypjen ajo me Volksin, zgjidh çempion me Galatasaray gjithashtu. Kështu që në luaj fort, në është e ashpër. Punë shpejt për Madonna Hyund. Mundohen të trembin, ky është lojtari holandez. Nuk mund të disiplinojë ndryshe përveç se duke nxjerrë një karton në atë mënyrë.
To the game, and one of your more progressive players has picked up a yellow.
Kylian Mai, who's been with Salford since he was 16 years old, goal-scoring midfield player at League 2 level. City with Reinders, Gonzalez working it wide to Ait Nouri, and now so many options for the pass, which wasn't the best from Shirky, and Reinders commits the foul.
Well, you can see the low block that Salford is utilising at this present time. Just saying to Manchester City, if you're going to have to try and break us down, it's have to be the needle through the haystack. But as we saw in the previous game against Exeter City, Exeter actually had a couple decent opportunities before the first Manchester City goal went in. And I don't know whether it's tongue-in-cheek from Carl Robinson this week, saying that he was having some pre-match fixtures, first team against the reserves, but he was having 14 reserves playing against his 11. So I don't know if that was tongue-in-cheek from Carl or not.
First chance for Salford to try and get a touch inside the Manchester City penalty area. They may do now. It's a loose one. This is Kylian Mai. And keep the attack going forward there. Carl Robinson was asked after the 8-0 defeat in the FA Cup here last season what lessons he'd learned, and his answer was winning the second round match.
The one thing that you'll always get with Carl Robinson, he's got a great sense of humour. I know him personally, and great lad to be with.
Just about kept in by Tijani Reinders. Cherky. Alain. He was on loan, Max Alain, earlier this season in the Championship with Watford. Manchester City brought him back early from that loan spell, and he's forward in this City attack. And there's a deflection on that and in. Well, it was Aït-Nouri's cross. Marmoush was attacking it. It certainly got a deflection, and it sped past the helpless goalkeeper Matty Young, a Manchester City lead.
Well, when you see this once again, have a look at Ben Woodburn here. He's just saying to his wide right, Rosell Longello, to go and take care of Aït-Nouri. But he doesn't go with him, and by the time Aït-Nouri gets in behind, he produces a decent cross. Not quite sure who finishes this, but you can see there the issue between the two Salford players. It's an excellent cross from Aït-Nouri.
The stadium announcer is giving the goal at the moment to Omar Marmoush. Just wondering whether it took a touch off a Salford defender on its way in, but City lead, looking quickly for a second. Here is Marmoush. Alain. Aït-Nouri. Gonzalez. Now Foden. See that low block again of 9 Salford outfield players trying to plug the gaps. So much variety in the Manchester City attacking play. It's gone down as a Dorrington own goal. I thought at the time it got a deflection off a Salford player, and it's the Tottenham loanee, 20-year-old Alfie Dorrington, who has the unfortunate own goal. A decent cross from Aït-Nouri.
Well, it was, and there you can see from the angles that we were given to start off, it wasn't really clear who put that ball in, but as you can see from the ones that we've just seen just moments ago, it is Alfie Dorrington who puts the ball into his back, into his goal, but it's very unfortunate.
Flag up for offside.
I was just thinking about that game against Exeter. 2 own goals involved in that one as well, Kevin.
Young, I'm sure he clears his lines there. The Salford goalkeeper who's in a second season on loan from Sunderland, 19 years old. He was in the team that lost here 8-0 last season. One of only 2. The other one is the captain Garbett, who is starting today. Cole Stockton was a used substitute, and he's on the bench again for Salford. Aït-Nouri. Reinders. Cherky. Lewis.
ครับสวัสดีพี่ๆทุกท่านด้วยนะพี่ๆสวัสดีพี่ๆทุกท่านที่เข้ามาใหม่ด้วยนะครับใครเข้ามาใหม่ฝากกดไลค์กดแชร์กดติดตามช่องให้น้องแอดมินด้วยนะพี่ๆใครที่เป็นคนไทยดูอยู่คอมเมนต์เข้ามาพูดคุยกันได้นะครับคอมเมนต์เข้ามาหาน้องแอดมินนะเข้ามาพูดคุยกันได้นะครับใครอยากเล่นอยากเดิมพันในคู่นี้นะราคาเปิดให้เดิมพันทุกคู่นะพี่ๆตี 3นี้ก็มีลิเวอร์นะครับลิเวอร์พูลนะพี่ๆใครอยากเล่นอยากเดิมพันนะแอดไลน์บนหน้าจอนะครับหรือคลิกลิงก์ใต้คอมเมนต์เข้ามาได้เลยนะครับดูบอลเต็มจอภาพชัดเสียงชัดนะพี่ๆคลิกลิงก์ใต้คอมเมนต์เข้ามานะดูฟรีนะเพียงแค่เป็นสมาชิกกับน้องแอดมินนะครับเพียงแค่เป็นสมาชิกกับน้องแอดมินรับลิงก์ดูบอลเต็มจอไปแบบฟรีๆเลยนะครับใครเข้ามาใหม่ฝากกดไลค์กดแชร์กดติดตามช่องให้น้องแอดมินด้วยนะพี่ๆ
sudden they're playing, and not being disrespectful to Salford City, they're playing against their under-18s or something. But what they have to do is just make sure that they're organised at the back. If they're going to have a low block, they have to be organised, they have to have good communication. But we've seen that time and time with Manchester City when they played opponents similar to like themselves, is that they have a lot of time, they have a lot of possession, and they know how to break teams down.
Now, can Salford produce something here? Got a corner. And of course, their set pieces are so important for them today. And around 5,000 Salford fans who've made the very short journey to the Etihad. That's considerably more than their average home attendance. And I dare say there'll be a fair number of Manchester United supporters in the Salford end today. Of course, the link to the class of '92 and the current owners, Gary Neville, Sir David Beckham. Paul Scholes is the director of football these days at Salford, and they have this corner. Can they make something of it? Garbutt to deliver. Incredible defending for City. The counter-attack on. They've got a lot of players ahead of the ball here at Salford, enough back maybe to deal with the threat. Shirky. Lewis. Bowden. Mamouche. Well defended by Dorrington. Flag was up for offside.
Yeah, it's very interesting when you have a look at the shape of Manchester City, the way that Matt Lane, who is virtually the right back, who's playing as a central midfielder at times, and this is what they did against Exeter. They just made the pitch nice and narrow. And then when they had to go and make it wide as possible, they were quite able to do that. But sometimes what they did, they capitalised when all of a sudden Exeter became a little bit more aggressive, put players forward, and then on the counter-attack, transition as you want to call it, that's where they became unstuck.
This is Salford City's 7th consecutive season in the English Football League, since reaching for the first time in 2019. They won 4 promotions in 5 seasons to get their Football League place. They've got huge ambitions to get into League One next season. Only just missed out on the playoffs by a point last season. Here's Alain. He's expecting a run from Mamouche, who just applied the brakes.
Yeah, I think it was Paul Scholes who was saying earlier that can you imagine where we were 10 years ago, and yet this season we're in the 4th round of the FA Cup and we've actually eclipsed Manchester United.
Yeah, they're keen to point out that they've gone further in the FA Cup this season than the Old Trafford club. They'll dine out on that, why not? Just in case you're unaware of close proximity of these two football clubs, Salford is actually a city in itself. It has its own council, but it's in Greater Manchester. It's a boundary right next to the City of Manchester centre. To have such massive football clubs on their doorstep is daunting for Salford.
But I think also it will give them a good opportunity if Manchester City or Manchester United wanted to have some of their younger players to go out on loan.
Yeah.
It'd make it far easier for them, wouldn't it?
Here's Stones. Cherky, keen to get on the ball, the French international. Kusanov will be going to the World Cup with Uzbekistan this summer. His nation getting there for the finals for the very first time. Nice flick. Might open up still. Shots disappointing from Shirky. It's actually gone out for a Salford throw.
Yeah, I like Ryan Shirky. So he's a player who manipulates the ball so well, can go right, can go left, tries to unbalance his opponent very early. But as I mentioned before, they have an abundance of wide players, Manchester City.
ครับสวัสดีพี่ๆทุกท่านด้วยนะครับใครเข้ามาใหม่ฝากกดไลค์กดแชร์กดติดตามช่องให้น้องแอดมินด้วยนะพี่ๆขอคนละ1 ไลค์ 1 แชร์นะครับขอคนละ1 ไลค์ 1 แชร์นะใครที่เป็นคนไทยดูอยู่นะพี่ๆคอมเมนต์เข้ามาพูดคุยกับน้องแอดมินได้นะครับคอมเมนต์เข้ามาพูดคุยกันได้นะหรือใครอยากเล่นอยากเดิมพันนะครับรับลิงก์ดูบอลเต็มจอนะพี่ๆ10 บาท 20 บาทก็สมัครเข้ามาเป็นสมาชิกเข้ามาเป็นครอบครัวเดียวกันได้เลยนะครับแอดไลน์บนหน้าจอหรือคลิกลิงก์ที่น้องมินปักหมุดใต้คอมเมนต์เข้ามานะพี่ๆทักกันเข้ามาได้เลยนะพี่ๆแอดไลน์กันเข้ามาแล้วทักเข้ามาหาน้องแอดมินได้เลยนะครับทักเข้ามาขอรับลิงก์ดูบอลเต็มจอได้เลยนะพี่ๆ10 บาท 20 บาทก็สมัครเข้ามาได้นะครับพี่ๆท่านไหนที่สนใจแอด KI24H นะครับไม่สะดวกแอดไลน์คลิกลิงก์เข้ามานะพี่ๆมีให้แทงนะพี่ๆทักเข้ามาสอบถามราคาค่าน้ำเพิ่มเติมกับน้องแอดมินได้เลยนะครับ
Fed in by Shirky. Well, it found its way through eventually to Stones. Assistant's flag is up. And City denied a chance to build for a second goal.
Yeah, you can see quite easily on the far side, John Stones going just a little bit too early. It's well seen by the official on this near side.
Apart from the goal, an own goal from Alfie Dorrington, Matty Young's not had a real scare. Manchester City won't worry about that. They'll just be happy to be dominating possession. They'll feel that the chances will come. It's sometimes it's just against a mass defence have to be a game of patience. And there is the great Paul Scholes in the middle there, the director of football at Salford City. Wouldn't they love to lace his boots up and get him out there?
What a fantastic player he was. I'd say that class of '92 weren't too special, were they, Kevin?
No. Wonderful generation, they really were. Now Salford chance! Down goes Osterfield. The referee's not interested in any Salford claim for a penalty. Should point out to you there's no VAR in the Emirates FA Cup until the 5th round this season. Need to have a look at it again.
I just wonder whether he's done this himself. I think he clips the ball with his right foot. Here we see when there's a clip, and then he has a free shot, doesn't he? Have a little look at this here with the touch that he had. There's a touch with the right foot, and then just the slight collision.
Yeah, we've all done this, haven't we? Not very nice when it happens, but that was sight of the City goal for Josh Osterfield.
Yes, it was an excellent opening, wasn't it, for Salford? So if he's just got his feet right, then I'm not sure that Max Lane would have come across quickly enough.
In a little bit of trouble there, Elaine. The Manchester City Academy graduates. He comes from a sporting family. His dad, Mark, former England and Gloucestershire cricketer. Osterfield is okay. Chance for Carl Robinson to call the troops to the touchline and try to sort things out tactically again.
Yeah, nice little weighted pass, wasn't it, from Ryan Graydon into the path of Osterfield. Sure, if he wanted to have that one again, things might be a little bit different.
Carl Robinson, 45 years old, but he's already got over 800 games as a manager. Quite remarkable, really. time to get a UEFA Pro license. At 29, his first job at MK Dons. A spell at Charlton and then a good few years at Oxford before linking up with Salford, and he's done enough to earn himself a new contract this week.
Yeah, and deservedly so as well. And if he can go and do what he did with MK Dons back in 2015, where he got promoted, I'm sure that he'll be more than delighted. I know that they went up to the Championship. They know he's got to go from League 2 to League 1 first. Just wonder whether or not this is the end of Max Lane, which will be a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, it's unlucky for the youngster. Manchester City forced into a change. And they've got a very, very strong bench. They're going to turn to one of the youngsters, Ryan Makaidu, who you saw, David, in the last round against Exeter.
Yeah, he generally plays over on that right-hand side. He's got a great left foot. He's one of those players who likes to take on his fullback. Scored an excellent goal as well, just outside of the 18-yard box. And again, he's one of those youngsters who's got great potential here at the Etihad.
So Guardiola could easily have turned to one of the more experienced players, but we'll see this as a perfect opportunity to give more first team minutes to 17-year-old Ryan Makaidu. Now, it's on a well-timed run, it is. Flag stays down, it's Marmoush! Oh, what a finish! The flag eventually up against him, but the Egyptian international ripped that into the top corner. Salford, I think, were pretty confident the flag would arrive.
Well, if anyone's turning around and saying about the lack of confidence for Marmoush, the way that he's able to just settle himself, there you can see he just goes that little bit early, spinning, and eventually when he hammers it, oh, top left-hand corner, it's like, but unfortunately for Marmoush and Manchester City, it's given as an offside.
Good back line, actually, from Salford. So important that they're...
And sometimes what they have to maintain that good line and discipline as they have done so far.
What you would say, looking back on that, it was tight, and I'll reiterate that there's no VAR. We would have looked at that to see if Marmoush had just managed to keep himself onside, which one we'll review again later. Here's Stones. There's a little shake of the head on the touchline I noticed there from Guardiola, having a word with our fourth official, Tom Neild. He thought Marmoush was onside. Gonzalez. Mike Nouri. To the Spaniard, Gonzalez. First involvement here for Makaidu. Losing out to Garbett.
Well, the one thing that you'll notice with Makaidu is that he likes to hold the width, especially on this right-hand side. And now Luke Garbett has got to be looking along the line, but looking over his left shoulder as well. It was slightly different with Max Lane because he did tuck in a little bit inside, and that's why Salford were quite narrow. But as you can see now, Garbett's having to pay more attention to Makaidu on this near side.
Still this heavy Manchester City possession. Makaidu. Just look at the number of passes, but they haven't had an attempt on target yet. The own goal that separates the two sides. One opening for Salford, not taken by Josh Osterfield. does that.
Took him a little bit of time to settle into Manchester City, did Tijani Reinders. But so far this year, 5 goals in the Premier League, 7 total, 7 assists. He's settled in really well now.
5-year deal last summer brought Tijani Reinders to England after a spell in Italy with Milan. Alex Bruce alongside Carl Robinson there is number 2. His dad, of course, Steve.
And also Steve Agnew as well.
Yeah, well, Steve Bruce and Steve Agnew had a long association. Various clubs.
ครับสวัสดีพี่ๆคุณดูทุกท่านด้วยนะครับสวัสดีพี่ๆคุณดูทุกท่านที่เข้ามาใหม่ด้วยนะครับใครเข้ามาใหม่ฝากกดไลค์กดแชร์กดติดตามช่องให้น้องแอดมินด้วยนะพี่ๆขอคนละ1ไลค์1แชร์นะครับขอคนละ1ไลค์1แชร์1คอมเมนต์นะใครที่สนใจอยากเล่นอยากเดิมพันนะพี่ๆในคู่นี้นะครับแมนซิตี้นะพี่ๆแมนซิตี้พบกับซันฟอร์ดนะพี่ๆแมนซิตี้พบกับซันฟอร์ดนะครับราคาเปิดได้เดิมพันแล้วนะพี่ๆเดิมพันบอลขั้นต่ำแค่10 บาทนะครับ10 บาท20 บาทก็สมัครเข้ามาเดิมพันได้นะหรือท่านไหนที่สนใจอยากดูบอลเต็มจอภาพชัดเสียงชัดนะพี่ๆไม่มีเสียงแอดมินคอยพากย์ไม่มีเสียงแอดมินคอยรบกวนนะพี่ๆแอดไลน์กันเข้ามานะครับแอด KAI24H นะพี่ๆไม่สะดวกแอดไลน์คลิกลิงก์ที่น้องมินปักหมุดใต้คอมเมนต์เข้ามาได้เลยนะครับใครสนใจอยากเล่นอยากเดิมพันบอลในคู่นี้นะพี่ๆคลิกลิงก์เข้ามานะครับคลิกลิงก์ที่น้องมินปักหมุดเข้ามาได้เลยนะพี่ๆ10 บาท20 บาทก็สมัครเข้ามาเดิมพันได้นะใครยังไม่มีลิงก์ดูบอลเต็มจอภาพชัดเสียงชัดแบบ 4K นะพี่ๆกดลิงก์ได้มาเข้ามาได้เลยนะพี่ๆกดคลิกลิงก์เข้ามาได้เลยนะครับทักเข้ามาหาน้องแอดมินนะใครแอดเข้ามาแล้วทักเข้ามาหาน้องแอดมินได้เลยนะครับทักเข้ามาขอรับลิงก์ดูบอลเต็มจอได้เลยนะพี่ๆ
Nuri. Shoot is the cry. Deflection on that will be Manchester City corner.
Well, the one thing I'll say about that shot from Nico Gonzalez, Spanish compatriot in the game against Exeter, Rodri, similar sort of position. Found the back of the net. It was a wonderful strike, but this time it took a little bit of a wicked deflection.
Chesterfield trying to stick close to John Stones there. City with a number of injury issues at the moment. I'm sure too many people are going to feel sorry for Guardiola with the depth of the squad, but there's a few holes in it currently. No Kovacic, Doku, Savinho, no Haaland today after Niggles.
สวัสดีพี่ๆด้วยนะครับใครดูอยู่นะอยากเล่นอยากเดิมพันนะพี่ๆทูมันนี่วอลเล็ตน้องแอดมินก็รับนะครับทูมันนี่วอลเล็ตน้องแอดมินก็รับนะใครที่กลัวเรื่องบัญชีนะพี่ๆทูมันนี่วอลเล็ตน้องแอดมินก็รับนะครับใครอยากเล่นอยากสมัครนะพี่ๆใครอยากเล่นอยากสมัครนะใครแอดเข้ามาแล้วแจ้งข้อมูลให้น้องแอดมินด้วยนะพี่ๆแอดไลน์กันเข้ามาแล้วทักเข้ามาหาน้องแอดมินแจ้งข้อมูลให้น้องแอดมินด้วยนะครับใครยังไม่มีลิงก์ดูบอลเต็มจอภาพชัดเสียงชัดนะพี่ๆหรือเว็บเดิมพันบอลดีๆนะพี่ๆทักเข้ามาหาน้องแอดมินได้เลยนะครับทูมันนี่วอลเล็ตน้องแอดมินก็รับนะพี่ๆมาวันนี้มีหลายคู่เลยนะพี่ๆลิเวอร์พูลก็มีนะครับคืนนี้3 นะพี่ๆเวลา3นะครับลิเวอร์พูลใครอยากเล่นอยากเดิมพันทักเข้ามาน้องแอดมินนะครับ10 บาท20 บาทก็สมัครเข้ามาเดิมพันได้นะพี่ๆเดิมพันบอลขั้นต่ำแค่10 บาทเท่านั้นนะครับราคาค่าน้ำมีขึ้นมีลงตลอดเวลานะพี่ๆทักเข้ามาสอบถามราคาค่าน้ำเพิ่มเติมกันได้นะครับใครที่ดูอยู่นะพี่ๆแล้วรำคาญเสียงน้องแอดมินนะครับพี่ๆทักเข้ามาหาน้องแอดมินนะเข้ามารับลิงก์ดูบอลเต็มจอได้เลยนะครับคลิกลิงก์ที่น้องมินปักหมุดใต้คอมเมนต์เข้ามานะพี่ๆใครอยากรับลิงก์ดูบอลเต็มจอเดียวกับน้องแอดมินนะพี่ๆทักเข้ามานะครับเพียงแค่เป็นสมาชิกรับลิงก์ดูบอลเต็มจอไปเลยนะครับ ดูบอลเต็มจอภาพชัดเสียงชัดนะดูได้ตลอดชีพเลยนะพี่ๆใครสนใจ@kai24h นะครับไม่สะดวกแอดไลน์คลิกลิงก์ใต้คอมเมนต์เข้ามานะพี่ๆ
They have to do. They have to focus. As I said, organisation is paramount. And when they're be wearing all their GPS vests, I'm sure that the running capacity will be unbelievable when they come to analyse that. But it's the lack of possession, the lack of passes that they've had so far. Maybe it's something that they will have to discuss at half time. But they're still only 1-0 down at this present time, Kevin.
Yep, that is the bright spot for them. Reinder's doing well, and Foden, excellent pass, goalkeeper commits very well, Matty Young.
Well, I'll tell you what, he was bright, sharp and alert, Matty Young. You can see how quick he was. Nice little ball, played into the path of Marmoush, and there you can see the youngster. That is why he's highly thought of. He comes out, it's nice and strong, and it's a good gather in the end.
Well, look, we only have to go back a few weeks to see that Macclesfield put out the FA Cup holders, Crystal Palace, and all the upsets down the years. And I'm not going to mention David being on the end of one of those, because I'd rather talk about his FA Cup win in one of the great finals against Tottenham. But you've seen both sides of this wonderful competition.
I have, and whenever people do mention it, I don't get angry or anything like that. All I say is I think about John Sillett, who's passed away now, that on his mantelpiece, let's just talk about this in a second.
In by Shirky, comfortable defending for Cooper.
Yeah, on his mantelpiece, he had a replica of the FA Cup on one side and a packet of Sutton Seeds on the other.
The reference to Sutton Seeds is it was non-league Sutton United who put out David Phillips' Coventry in one of the great upsets.
And yes, I've got to get that one in.
Yeah, that was some win for Macclesfield. We've got Brentford, of course, on Monday at home. Now that's a run from Marmoush to set up Foden. And it was Cooper who slid into good effect for Salford. That's where pick up earlier where Salford, when they get the ball, can't give it away as easily and cheaply as that. It can be a while till they get it back.
And you wouldn't expect that from George Grant as well, central midfielder. Very, very experienced. Played at Nottingham Forest and Lincoln and Hearts. And I just thought then where Marmoush had that ball on that left-hand side, could he have played that a little bit earlier and quicker to Phil Foden?
This is Ben Woodburn. Grant. Garbutt. Opportunity to put 5 or 6 passes together here, Salford.
Yeah, sometimes you don't have to play that ball forward. Just, as you're right to say, just go through a few passages of the play where, just saying to Manchester City, well, look, you can start running, but you can see there the way that he's having a deep breath as if to say, well, why do you need to give that ball away so easily when you've got comfortable possession?
Space here for Aït-Nouri. Shirky wins the corner.
I will say about Salford that when they do lose possession, and especially those sort of areas where the likes of Shirky gets in behind, shirts that get themselves back into the 18-yard box, you can't turn around and have a pop at the players, because I tell you what, their attitude is absolutely spot on.
Ryan Cherky's corner. waiting for Kusanov to drift into the heart of that Salford penalty area. A push there, as City claims. Referee not interested. But if they can get to half time, just a goal down.
ครับสวัสดีพี่ๆทุกท่านที่เข้ามาใหม่ด้วยนะใครเข้ามาใหม่ฝากกดไลค์กดแชร์นะพี่ๆแชร์ไลค์ไปให้เพื่อนๆพี่ๆน้องๆดูกันได้นะครับใครยังไม่มีที่ดูที่เล่นนะพี่ๆใครยังไม่มีที่ดูที่เล่นนะครับใครยังไม่มีที่ดูที่เล่นที่เดิมพันนะพี่ๆทักเข้ามาหาน้องแอดมินได้เลยนะครับทูมันนี่วอลเล็ตน้องแอดมินก็รับนะพี่ๆทูมันนี่วอลเล็ตน้องแอดมินก็รับนะครับใครที่กลัวเรื่องบัญชีไม่ต้องห่วงนะพี่ๆทูมันนี่วอลเล็ตน้องแอดมินก็รับอยู่นะครับใครอยากเล่นอยากเดิมพันนะพี่ๆคลิกลิงก์ที่น้องมินปักหมุดใต้คอมเมนต์เข้ามาได้เลยนะครับใครยังไม่มีที่ดูที่เล่นที่เดิมพันดีๆนะครับ@kai24h นะครับหรือไม่สะดวกแอดไลน์คลิกลิงก์ใต้คอมเมนต์เข้ามานะพี่ๆดูบอลเต็มจอภาพชัดเสียงชัดนะไม่มีเสียงแอดมินคอยภาพไม่มีเสียงแอดมินคอยรบกวนนะครับดูได้ทุกคู่นะพี่ๆดูได้ครบทุกคู่ทุกลีกเลยนะพี่ๆใครสนใจนะดูบอลครบทุกคู่ครบทุกลีกนะครับลิงก์นี้ดูได้ตลอดชีพนะพี่ๆทูมันนี่วอลเล็ตน้องแอดมินก็รับนะครับใครแอดไลน์เข้ามาแล้วแจ้งข้อมูลมาให้น้องแอดมินด้วยนะพี่ๆดูได้ตลอดชีพนะเดิมพันบอลขั้นต่ำแค่10 บาทนะพี่ๆ10 บาทนะครับ10-20 บาทก็สมัครเข้ามาเดิมพันได้นะใครสนใจ@kai24h นะครับไม่สะดวกแอดไลน์คลิกลิงก์เข้ามานะ
Jerky. Reinders. Only a 5-4 block of Sol retaining their patience.
And also, I like the fact that even though Brandon Cooper all the time in the heart of that central area, just saying we need to squeeze up, and you can see at times he'll just go and squeeze up 3 or 4 yards, say to his centre halves either side to do exactly the same.
Good attendance inside the Etihad today.
ครับสวัสดีพี่ๆทุกท่านนะใครที่อยากดูบอลแบบไม่กระตุกภาพชัดเสียงชัดนะพี่ๆทักเข้ามาหาน้องแอดมินได้เลยนะครับ10 บาท20 บาทก็สมัครเข้ามาเดิมพันได้นะพี่ๆเข้ามารับลิงก์ดูบอลเต็มจอได้เลยนะครับเข้ามารับลิงก์ดูบอลเต็มจอได้เลยนะพี่ๆอยากดูแบบภาพชัดเสียงชัดพี่ๆทักเข้ามาได้เลยนะครับทูมันนี่วอลเล็ตน้องแอดมินก็รับนะเพียงแค่เป็นสมาชิกกับน้องแอดมินวันนี้นะพี่ๆรับลิงก์ดูบอลเต็มจอไปเลยนะครับแบบฟรีๆนะภาพชัดเสียงชัดไม่มีเสียงแอดมินคอยภาพไม่มีเสียงแอดมินคอยรบกวนนะครับท่านไหนที่สนใจอยากจะรับลิงก์ดูบอลเต็มจอพี่ๆคลิกลิงก์เข้ามาได้เลยนะ10 บาท20 บาทก็สมัครเข้ามาเดิมพันได้นะครับเพียงแค่เป็นสมาชิกกับน้องแอดมินวันนี้นะพี่ๆรับลิงก์ดูบอลเต็มจอไปเลยนะครับแบบฟรีๆนะพี่ๆภาพชัดเสียงชัดแบบ 4K ไม่มีสะดุดไม่มีกระตุกนะครับใครสนใจนะพี่ๆคลิกลิงก์ใต้คอมเมนต์เข้ามานะครับบัญชีทูมันนี่วอลเล็ตน้องแอดมินก็รับนะพี่ๆใครอย่าลืมนะครับใครแอดไลน์เข้ามาแล้วแจ้งข้อมูลให้น้องแอดมินด้วยนะพี่ๆเพื่อเป็นความรวดเร็วนะครับเพื่อเป็นความรวดเร็วนะใครแอดไลน์เข้ามาแล้วอย่าลืมแจ้งข้อมูลให้น้องแอดมินด้วยนะครับ
I don't think he's even had a cross to come out and collect. Not had a shot to save. But I have to look at the back unit of Salford and say they are so well organised.
9 days since Salford were last out. That 1-0 defeat away at Accrington. Rico Lewis. Osterfield. Chance to run. Unnecessary hand in the back from Abdul Qadir Kusanov. Killian free kick Salford.
Well, it is, and you're right in what you're saying in respect to Salford when they get set plays, advantage of him, but that is naive defending from the Uzbekistan international. He's going nowhere in mine. He's just got to go and stand it materialises. Gives Salford a great opportunity with 5 minutes coming up to half time.
Get Zach Orr forward for this. Brandon Cooper and Alfie Dorrington, all 3 centre backs, as you would imagine. A forward here for Salford. Captain Garbutt delivers. Free header in there. Nearly dropped for Mai Stones. An important foot in there for Manchester City.
Was really so well done in Woodburn. We talk about technique. This is a great strike from Dorrington to start off with, and eventually that ball is tipped towards the far post, and in comes Woodburn. He's got to make sure that he gets his knee above the ball, way that he's able to just guide it towards that top right hand corner. But what a great save that is from James Trafford.
Salford stay on the front foot. That incidentally is off effort, David, from Ben Woodburn.